What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? It's your boy Goblin, and today we're coming in with a banger of a video, a true hoot and holler. If I'm being honest, this is probably one of the longest awaited videos of all time in the history of this channel. Today, I've got a grand story about when my good close friend Ashton got robbed, and specifically what we did in response to him getting robbed. The reason I'm making this video right now is because I was looking through my catalog as I was uploading everything to Spotify, and I realized that this video, the original story I told of this, was 10 years old, approaching 10 years old as of this year. And on top of that, it also was only a 6-minute long video, and I left out a lot of details because I was a stupid kid and I was scared of talking about everything that happened because I didn't want to get in trouble. I'm now a grown man, and I'm going to talk about everything that happened. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Drop a like if you do. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And right before I started recording this video, I was aggressively maintaining my sexual wellness with the Ultra Blow that I grabbed from my homies at Balesa. Look at this piece of machinery right here. This is the Ultra Blow, my personal favorite, the wonderful device from my friends at Balesa, and it's their most advanced stroker yet, as you can see. Look at the pure power behind these strokes. I get it though, not all of you have genitals that are compatible with the Ultra Blow. But some of you might have genitals that are compatible with the Pebble. This is the ultimate wellness maintaining machine. Look at the suction power. Let's switch the cap up. Bang. Here we go. It's flicking its shit. Let's switch the cap up again. Bang. Look at this potency. These are just two examples of the many wonderful and diverse toys that my friends at Balesa make for those of all walks of life and all gender identity. And those are just two examples of products that you could potentially get your hands on by just entering my giveaway that my friends and I at Balesa are teaming up to offer you guys. And this is a giveaway that you can't miss because everybody wins in some way, shape, or form. And all you have to do to enter this wonderful giveaway is scroll down for more information, and after you enter, don't forget to check your email inbox to claim your prize, ladies and gentlemen. My friends at Balesa are very kind people, and they're not afraid to hook my audience up. So what are you waiting for? Go take care of your sexual wellness. Big shout out to them. Now let's dive into the video. Now listen, guys, this is one that I've been sitting on for a while, and I feel like it's been long enough where I can tell the full story because I went back and I watched the original version of this video all the way from 2016, and I gotta be honest, I left out an insane amount of details here. And this is kind of a two-part story getting put into one video because there's two things I'm going to talk about here today. First and foremost, we're going to talk about my friend Ashton getting robbed. He literally got pistol whipped in this chick's bathroom while we were on the two-man. And also, we're going to talk about what we did in response to that robbery because Ashton knew one of the people who was there and who had done it. It was like a swarm of people that showed up. It's a long story. We'll get into that. So this is kind of a two-parter that we're just going to cram into one big video. And I've told this story in parts on live streams and on podcasts before, but I've never actually made a main channel video. And now that I realize I've never done that, I think this is very, very long overdue. So, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the story of my good friend Ashton getting robbed, and the more important part here, what we did afterwards in retaliation, I guess you could say. So, back in 2016, this was way, way back, dude. I was a junior in high school, and I was up to absolutely no good. And somehow, some way, I don't really remember the context of this. I ended up at this girl's house who I don't even remember what I called her in this video years ago, but her name was Sandra. And she was a girl who, like, you know, we weren't super close friends or anything, but like, you know, I had a couple classes with her. I'd see her in the hallway and like, hey, I kind of flirt with her a little bit. You know, I'd shoot my shot every now and then. We were in different different leagues. Okay. It was not even the same playing field. Regardless of that, one way or another, I ended up at her house. Her parents were out of town. I remember that. She invited me over, and we were hanging out. I remember sitting at her table, and if I remember correctly, she asked me if I could help her get Molly, and I was like, "Fuck yeah!" Like, absolutely. You know, I know just the guy for that. My good friend Ashton. So I kind of start pitching it to her. I'm like, "Yeah, this guy's got pretty much everything you can need. Would you mind if I invite him over?" She's like, "Oh, yeah, no problem. I actually have another friend coming over. Her name was Gabby, right?" So she's like, "Oh, yeah, my friend Gabby's coming over." I'm doing the Birdman hands, bro. I'm not gonna lie. I'm sitting here, and this was a scenario where, like, hey, listen, I don't get invited on the two-man very often. Getting invited over to this girl's house is very exciting for me. This is a girl who, like, in passing, I'd flirt with every now and then. She'd always laugh about it, and it never took me seriously. Here we are, dude. This felt like the Olympics, the Olympic Games, dude. I'm shooting for a medal, and I didn't get the medal. I didn't even get bronze. I didn't get shit because of what Ashton did on this fine day. So I tell Sandra, I'm like, "Yeah, you know what? My buddy Ashton can pull up. No problem. He can help you out. He's got a little bit of everything." And when I hit up Ashton and I pitch this scenario to him, he takes this as I should bring my entire re-up. I should show up with everything. And that's exactly what he does. He comes over to these girls or to this girl's house. I don't even remember how he got there. I think he probably Ubered. But either way, he shows up eventually. And Sandra's friend also shows up. So it's the four of us just hanging out. We're sitting in her dining room. We're like 16 years old, just absolutely no responsibilities except taking Xanax and being retarded, right? Times were good. Life was good. So we're sitting in the dining room and we're chilling for a little bit. And I don't even think Ashton actually brought any Molly, although he usually had some, but I don't think he actually had any, but he brought everything else. This guy showed up with ketamine. This guy showed up with Xans, a lot of Xans. He always had those. Of course, he had weed. He would only sell it. He couldn't even smoke it. He was on probation. And he showed up with the loadout. And we were all just, it was a jolly old time, I don't remember much of like us hanging out, but nothing really went wrong until maybe an hour into us being there. Ashton's like, "Oh, yo, I have a serve real quick. Do you guys mind if I like just bust that outside real quick? Like, I'll just have him pull up real quick. It'll take like 5 minutes." And he asked Sandra this, and she's like, "Oh, yeah, sure. Like, if it's just like one person coming over, that's no problem." And Ashton, he's like, "Yeah, it's just going to be like one or two people, like, all good. I'll just run outside and serve them real quick. Like, they just want to grab some stuff." And of course, I have no say in this. This isn't my crib. I don't give a fuck. So I'm just like, all right, yeah, okay. This was normal for Ashton. Like, this guy was always doing this shit. So we're sitting at this house and all of a sudden the doorbell rings. I'm like, "Oh shit, they came to the door, all right." I remember getting up and going to the door, and Ashton went to the door with me to answer it. Bro, this shit was straight out of like a Family Guy episode. There's 20 fucking people on the porch. I shit, like 4 cars worth of people pulled up. And mind you, this was not okay with the girl whose house this was. This completely was blowing up the spot. It was never meant to be a function like this. There was no more people invited over for the whole night. It was just us 4. We were on the two-man. It had potential, okay? And listen, it went south so fast. I shit you not. There was a horde of people. There was like 3 cars worth of people. And Ashton's just holding the door open. And I remember I was like, "Dude, what the fuck? Like, why did you invite this many people over?" And Sandra hears all this commotion on her porch because everyone's loud as fuck, dude. Like, people's cars are still on. There's like music playing. And I had no idea where all these people came from. Like, I saw Ashton messaging. He hit up one person. I'm like, "Dude, what the fuck is happening? Like, did you just like post the address on your story? Like, what is going on?" And he's like, "Yo, like, you can't bring this many people here." And they all just kind of walk the fuck in. Like, the doors open, they just walk in. They're so deep. I was like, "Dude, what is happening?" And Sandra starts freaking the fuck out. She's like, "Yo, what the fuck is this? Like, everyone's got to get the fuck out." None of these people who showed up listened to it. It was one of the craziest things I've ever seen. I don't know where all these people came from, why they were all so disrespectful. I don't know what the deal was, dude. I mean, they were all retarded and on Xans. That's why, just like us. But either way, everyone just starts walking into this house. Apparently, as everyone had walked in, kind of talking to these people, there's a couple people in the crowd that I like vaguely knew. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening here? There was a party that had just gotten popped. And whoever hit up my friend Ashton to come grab whatever they asked to come grab, I guess was coming from this party. And when they got the okay from Ashton to come over, they told everybody in the vicinity at the party, like, "Yo, we got a new spot. Like, pull up. Everyone come through." So Dude, the girls are freaking out. Everything's blown. Even if my friend didn't get pistol whipped in the bathroom shortly after this, it's still the night was over either way. Like, even if we got everyone out the door, it was completely fucked. But things got much worse. So I remember we're standing around the kitchen, like the island in the kitchen, and there's these dudes who I just never seen before who are just acting sketchy, bro. Like, you could tell they were casing the place out. And I mean, hey guys, I don't mean to profile, dude, but I remember they were just wearing some attire that had me concerned for my safety, you know, and that's to say the least. I was looking at them, dude, and I was like, wow, dude, these guys are from a bad neighborhood, dude. This might not end well, you know, so. I'm sitting there. I'm like, dude, I'm looking at Ashton. I'm like, bro, we're fucking these are all strangers. Like, Ashton didn't even know who these guys were. He knew like one of the people there. So I'm like, all right, let's just deal with this. Ashton, being the fucking idiot he was, dude. Listen, he was a great friend of mine. I don't mean to disrespect him, but he was so like oblivious to reading the room. He would always make himself a target. Dude, this guy would get robbed like every other week. I'm not even exaggerating. He ended up in a field in nothing but his boxers one time, bro. They took his pants and shit. Like, dude, this guy would get robbed all the time. He would kind of ask for it sometimes. Like tonight, he opens his bag and just puts everything on the table, dude. This guy has like 100 fucking Xans. He has like a few grams of K, I remember. He had some other shit. Lays it all on the counter, and everyone kind of swarms over him. It's like, shit, I need to grab some. Like, I need that, you know? Like, what's up with that? Let me grab that. I don't remember exactly what it was that everyone wanted. I think it might have been the Xans, but one of the guys who was standing around the island in the kitchen was like, yo, like, let me scope that out real quick, you know? And Ashton's like, oh, yeah, for sure. Meanwhile, in the background of this, the girls, Sandra and Gabby, who were originally there, are freaking out, trying to get everyone out of this house. Like, they're like going around to people and being like, yo, get the fuck out. These dudes are playing music off a speaker. You can't hear shit. They're yelling. It doesn't matter. At one point, if I remember correctly, Sandra went up to like the second story and like started trying to yell down, like, yo, get the fuck out of my house. There's like 20 fucking people here. Dude, it's shit show. But this guy says to Ashton, he's like, yeah, let me come scope that out, bro. Like, come over here with me. And for some reason, Ashton, just being kind of gullible, just agrees to do this. And they take him into the bathroom to scope out the like Xans they were going to grab. Why do you need to go to a private place to scope that out? And like these three dudes walk in the bathroom, and I saw it happen, and I knew immediately. I was like, oh fuck, dude. And there were so many people by the door, like, because at the same time as this, Sandra was kind of having success crowding people out of the house. So like everyone's kind of by the door, and the bathroom they went into was right next to the exit. So it was just complete pandemonium. And all of a sudden, I hear like Ashton start yelling, like he's like, help. And they start like a lot of banging around. It happened really fast, dude, in like a second. I remember the door swung open super quick. And these dudes, they were like masked up all of a sudden. They weren't masked up when they went in there, but they were masked up when they came out. I remember that. Ran the fuck out the door with all of Ashton's shit. And they had guns in their hands and shit, dude. So we're sitting there. Listen, we're lacking, bro. We were coming over to the lady's house to like have a good time, and maybe they wanted to buy some Molly. Like, it was going to be a chill evening, you know? It was going to be a fun time hanging out. And like all of a sudden, my homie's getting pistol whipped in the bathroom, and the girls are crying. Like, once they ran out with the guns, Sandra starts like screaming and like freaking out. She's like, what the fuck? Like, she's like crying and shit. She's like, get the fuck out. And at that point, everyone got out of the house. Me and Ashton are standing there in the doorway, and Ashton's like, yo, like, they took my shit. He tries to like run out after him, and I remember I kind of grabbed him. I was like, bro, like, what are you gonna do? Like, we're literally like, we're unarmed, dude. They're already in the car, mind you. Like, their car was right out front. They literally were already leaving. Ashton's like running out. I'm like, bro, don't, like, what's the point? Like, and we knew who one of them was anyways. So it was like, dude, just relax. Like, they got you. You got, dude. This happens every other week. I know you really well. Like, it's all right, man. You're gonna do just fine. He's sitting in the doorway like, fuck. The girls are freaking out. Sandra's literally crying, like tears down her face. She's like, get the fuck out of my house. So everyone leaves, and we're the last ones out because we're standing in the doorway. I'm like, let me just grab all my stuff. I'm apologizing profusely. I'm like, Sandra, I'm so sorry. Like, we really, like, I'm so sorry. Like, this was not supposed to happen. We didn't mean to do this. She didn't give a fuck, bro. This girl hated me forever after this, dude. It was, oh my God. It was crazy, dude. We actually got along pretty well before, dude. She hated me forever after this. Never recovered. Never was the same. It was over with. And like, we walk out the door, and I remember we get in my car. My mom's Honda CRV for the night, and we get in my car, and we're driving kind of nowhere. Ashton's like, my adrenaline's going too, because I'm sitting there just like, what the fuck just happened? Ashton's kind of freaked out. He's like, yo, like, he's pissed. He's like, dude, like, fuck them. There was this one kid who we're gonna call, for the sake of this video, we're gonna call him oh my God, the dude who robbed. I'm not gonna say any names of the people who robbed my friend, but you know, just for the sake of it'll make sense later. But either way, we're gonna call this guy. Oh God, let's call him Norm, dude. So Norm is the one guy in this giant swarm of people that pulled up that we knew. We knew him. That was who Ashton was communicating with on Snapchat. We knew he was one of the people who was in the bathroom that directly like robbed Ashton. And he was actually the one who pistol whipped him, I'm pretty sure. So we're sitting there like, all right, we know everything about this guy. Norm was someone we were very familiar with. Like, we knew where this kid lived and everything. So we're immediately that same night, we're like, yo, we got to do something. Like, we can't, you know. I mean, listen, we're not shooters, bro. I'm not gonna lie. Like, we're not, you know, spinning this guy's block. But at the same time, we're like, dude, we can't just like we can't just fold for that. That's unacceptable. So we're brainstorming. Ashton's going crazy. Look, he's sitting there. He's like, man, who's got a gun? Who's got a gun? I'm like, bro, like, I'm not dying in a shootout for 50 Xans, dude. I'm sorry. I'm just not doing it. You know, I'm not going like that. But we could definitely fuck his shit up somehow. You know, we could do a little, you know, maybe vandalism or something. And Ashton liked that idea. He was like, wow, okay, I like this. So we ended up going to another friend's house. And, you know, we pulled, I'm going to get kind of vague with who I did this with, even though this was 10 fucking years ago. You know, I'm still going to be kind of vague about who I did this with, but regardless, we went to another friend's house, a garage that I hung out in very often, if you will. And we pitched this scenario to him. You guys fucking know, dude. We went to Cody's house. I mean, it doesn't matter. We went to Cody's house after, and I say to Cody, I'm like, yo, dude, like, this is what happened. We just kind of laid it all out. Ashton explained it, and he's like, damn, that's not right. You know, we're sitting there kind of plotting on what to do. And the idea comes into our heads, like, we should just go fuck up his car. Like, we know which car is his. We know where he lives. Like, we should just go fuck his whip up. So we're like, all right, we're going to fuck the windows up. We're going to fuck the tires up. We're just going to trash his shit, right? That was the initial plan. We hit up a couple more people who these individuals I'm not going to name because it's just kind of irrelevant. You know, I don't want to keep track of this many names, but there ended up being like 5 of us that all pulled up on this house, right? We're all mobbing in my mom's Honda CRV and we're riding around with like various tools, dude. We had like ski masks and like, you know, 2x4s, and like we went to Walmart and like stole some hammers and shit like that, you know, just to go in there and like just grab some extra tools to break shit. And we're like, all right, we're just gonna, you know, fuck his car out, just like dent his doors and like smash a window or something. And we go through his neighborhood and we go, this was so stupid, dude. In retrospect, like this was so fucking dumb. But we were like 16. This was a big deal to us. It was unbelievable to us that our homie just got pistol whipped in this chick's bathroom. And mind you, I was also very pissed at Ashton on the other end of this. And I even told him as we were driving away, I was like, dude, you just blew it. Like, we had like a non-zero chance of those girls being like, wow, you guys are so awesome. We love you so much. But like, instead, you got pistol whipped in their bathroom and kicked out, and they're never going to talk. You made her cry. You literally made her cry. Like, it couldn't have gone any worse. And like, it was so bad. It was so bad. I was more focused on that part. He was tripping about like losing the ketamine in his hands. I was like, bro, fuck that shit, dude. You just blew our whole spot up. Like, what are you talking about? But either way, you know, we all kind of gather the troops, and we're like, all right, we're going to, you know, go to his neighborhood. We're going to go to fucking Norm's neighborhood and just, you know, check out the spot. And lo and behold, the car's in the driveway. We're like, damn, all right. And this was hours later. We didn't like go straight and do this an hour later. Like, this was way later in the night, you know? So Norm was home. There's a light on in the living room. I remember that. You know, we had gathered all our tools to smash everything, and we're casing it out, and we're like, man, that light in the living room is sketchy. And the blinds were kind of open too. You know, it was one of those things where it was like, fuck, someone could be in there. And we're kind of discussing that. We're like, well, what if someone comes to the window and sees us? What if they see us coming up and like call the cops. We're way overthinking this. Like we're discussing this as if we're about to like break into their house. Like, dude, we committed vandalism. We did property damage. Like in the grand scheme of things, this is not that crazy of a crime. But when I was younger, I remember thinking this was the biggest deal ever. I was like, yo, I can't tell this story on YouTube, dude. You know, I said oh, this was bad. But either way, you know, we had eventually just decided to go in. We were sitting there discussing it for too long, and we're like, fuck it, let's go fuck that car up. We all get out. One of my homies stays in the car as a driver, and the rest of us get out, and we run over to the car in the driveway. We slash 3 of the 4 tires. We break all the windows on the car. I'm not gonna lie, that shit was so much fun, dude. We knocked the mirrors off that shit, bro. We broke like all the windows. We fucked up the tires, all except one, because one of my homies was like, dude, if you pop all 4, insurance covers it. If you pop all 3, they don't cover it. I don't believe that, but like regardless, we believed it at the time, you know. We were also all high as fuck. If I remember correctly, Cody had some Xans and we were all barred the fuck out, you know. we grabbed him at Cody's house before we departed with our battle squad. You know, Cody was holding down the fort, you know. So either way, we're out there and we're smashing up the car, and one of us throws something right at the living room window. It wasn't part of the plan or anything. Like it was, we had kind of discussed going into it, like, hey, maybe we should, you know, chuck something at his house. But we decided against that because it's like, that's a little fucked. Like, you know, his mom lives there and shit. We weren't trying to, like, you know, hurt his family and stuff. We were just trying to fuck with him. So we're like, yeah, his car will do, you know, like fucking up his car, that's good enough. We didn't realize at the time, we learned this later, that was actually his mom's car that he was driving like with permission. So oops, sorry, Ma. But you know, regardless of that, one of my friends throws something at the living room window, something that I'm not gonna name because I had no part in that. You know, he throws an object at the living room window that you know, goes through the window, and I remember hearing a lot of commotion. I don't It all happened so fast as I was running back to the car with my friends. I don't remember if it was like there was someone in the living room when we were doing all this. And as soon as something hit the window, it was like all hell broke loose. It was like, oh shit, like we got to go. You know, we run back to the car, we jump in that shit, we dip the fuck out. And as we're driving away, one of my friends who's sitting right next to me in the back seat looks at his hand and realizes he cut his hand on one of the windows of the car. He was helping us break windows, and he cut his hand, and he was bleeding. And he had there was a lot of blood running down his arm, and it kind of hurt. And he was also tweaking. He was really paranoid and tweaking. He's like, dude, my blood's going to be on that car. Like, they're going to pull my DNA and shit like that. We were all way overthinking this situation. I mean, we were acting like we had just tried to kidnap somebody. You know, we fucked a car up. You know, it wasn't like, when you look objectively at the crime, like if hypothetically we all got caught doing this, we would have gotten like like this shit probably would have been a misdemeanor. You know, I don't know the exact laws, but probably, dude. Regardless, though, we're driving away and my homie's bleeding in his hand. Like, I don't want to say profusely, but you know, it's not a small cut. He's bleeding, and we're like, fuck. You know, we're all kind of starting to trip out too. Like, bro, what if his blood is back there on the car? Like, we might get popped because of this. And Ashton's in the car, and he's like, yo, he had some more ketamine on him. Somehow, some way, this guy always, bro, he would literally get robbed and still like have ketamine. It might have been up his ass for all I know. I don't know, but this guy was just, he was in a way like in terms of in drug dealer terms, he was like a cockroach. You know how like they say cockroaches don't die in nuclear blast? This guy doesn't run out of ketamine in gunpoint robberies. Like, he'll always have a little bag left on him, and he had some left on him, and he's like, dude, just do some K, like just do some K, bro. And you know, my homie's hand was bleeding, did a bunch of K. I don't remember exactly how much quantity wise, but he was fucked up. Like, he shut up about his hand pretty quick and got lit. And then I remember we all started, you know, kind of celebrating in the back seat. We're all discussing together. This was a very like ragtag group of friends. Like, this wasn't a group of dudes who I normally hung out with. It was just people that like one of us there, at least, like we were like, hey, I really trust this guy. Like, invite him on this. But this event like cemented us all as homies. It was like, oh, dude, thank you guys so much for coming and helping us do this. Like, we really appreciate it. You know, you guys got nothing out of this. And everyone was like, no, we're glad to help. You know, it was a great bonding moment. I'll always have respect for the group of guys that I went out there and smashed up Norm's car with, you know, because fuck Norm for robbing my friend at gunpoint and ruining the function, ruining the two man. And also, Ashton blew that shit, dude. Ashton completely blew it the fuck up. I remember telling him, I mean, even days after, I never stopped talking about this with him. My friend Ashton, he passed away years ago. The 9-year anniversary is like 2 weeks away. But, you know, before he passed, I remember all the time I would talk to him and I would be like, dude, like, you fucked that two man. Like, you literally got robbed in the bathroom. Like, it could, and he would always just laugh about it. He'd be like, yeah, I know, dude. You know, fuck those guys. But he got robbed so often. Like I mentioned earlier in this video, it was just the norm to him. It was so funny. But either way, we all drove back. We dipped out and we went back and we kind of chilled out. I remember we sat in the car for a bit. We hit a drive-through. I think it was McDonald's, and we just kind of hung out for a minute and you know, collected ourselves after doing this. And we were sitting there like, man, mission success. That went really well. We fucked that car up. You know, we fucked that car up. And the following day, I don't think it was the following day, but it was like the next school day. If I remember correctly, this did not. No, actually, I think it did happen on a school night. I think we literally did end up, this happened the next day. So the following day, Ashton and I go to school together. And, you know, we have school together the following school day, regardless of how many actual days apart it was. And at one point, Ashton ends up in the bathroom. And, like, he's this dude, this huge dude is squaring up with him who is homies with Norm. Norm didn't go to our school, but his good friend dude, who was this big motherfucker, and like the bathroom was where everyone squared up, and Ashton got caught in the bathroom, dude. They caught his ass lacking. And I remember coming in there and you hear it, dude. They were, I don't know, I don't remember if they were already hitting him or they were about to, but it was rowdy in there, dude. I remember coming in there. Luckily, I had a couple other homies and we all kind of like grabbed this dude and like pulled him back, and they got in a big shouting match and shit. He's like, I'm gonna fuck you up, bro. Like, I'm gonna catch you. And later, they did catch us again, actually. It was kind of crazy. You know, they did. Yeah, they robbed Ashton again, and I was there, and it wasn't good. It wasn't, dude, we hanging out with this guy used to get me in some fucking trouble. Hanging out with drug dealers was never, you know, very, very good for my well-being when I was younger. But regardless of that, you know, he was a great friend, one of my closest when I was younger, you know. Truly, I considered him a best friend, so I was always down to get robbed with him. You know, I was always down to figure it out after. But this fucking guy, dude, he would get his ass beat all the time over drug shit. 'Cause he would just put himself in bad situations. And I would always tell him that, and he didn't care. This guy would serve everybody, dude. He was like a golden retriever that sold drugs. Like, he would he would fucking serve everybody. He didn't care, dude. A golden retriever that sells blow. That's like the best way I describe that guy. And this was also the only time that we like retaliated for my friend getting robbed. I mean, like I mentioned, this dude would get robbed all the time, and he would just call me sounding defeated from like a public place or like someone's phone. He'd be like, can you come pick me up? Like, one time he literally got left in a field in nothing but his underwear and like had to figure it out. I mean, this shit, this was a fairly regular occurrence, but the reason that we were so deeply offended and personally offended by this one was because the two man was blown. Ashton could not allow it. And I remember after this, I'd hit up Sandra and I sent her a profuse apology. I'd seen her at school and she stopped talking to me at school. She wouldn't speak to me anymore. You know, I'd see her in passing in the hallway. I'd always say hello. And yeah, it was over with. You know, it was over with. It was blown. So thanks a lot, Ashton. You know, appreciate that, bud. And thank you all for watching the video. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. And, you know, this is a long time coming. I never realized until very recently that I didn't actually ever drop the full version of this video on my main channel. And I just felt that wasn't right. I felt that had to be corrected. You know, telling it in other places where it's harder to find, like, you know, telling it on a stream or a podcast, that makes it hard to find. I wanted it to be on this channel and clear and here for everyone to watch. So Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Drop a like if you did. Big shout out to my friends at Balesa for supporting the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Also, don't forget to tap in with the Spotify. A link is going to be below in the comments because all of my story videos are now on Spotify. So you can listen to me with your phone locked at work or wherever you like to listen to Spotify. But either way, go tap in with that. See you on the next one. Deuces.